The message arrived at 1:47 a.m. I was standing in the entryway of the house, my shoes still on, my back aching from a 16-hour shift at the hospital. When my phone vibrated in my hand, I expected it to be an emergency alert or a delayed lab result. Instead, it was a text from my husband. Wrap her properly. Put her somewhere cold. We'll deal with everything after the trip. I reread it 3 times before the meaning fully landed. My throat tightened, and my fingers went numb. In the next room, his grandmother was still alive. Breathing, barely, but alive. My name is Alina Vance, and for 7 years, I believed I was living a respectable, hardworking life. I was a surgical nurse pulling brutal double shifts, paying for a house that looked like it belonged on the cover of a real estate magazine. I thought I was supporting a family. I didn't realize I was funding my own destruction. Before I go any further, I want you to pause for a moment. Wherever you're listening from, a quiet apartment, a noisy city street, maybe a kitchen where everyone else is asleep, know this stories like mine happen behind closed doors every day. And silence is how they survive. That night, the house felt wrong the moment I pulled into the driveway. No lights, no security glow, just darkness stretching across the massive structure I had paid for with my overtime and exhaustion. Inside, the air was stale, untouched. Julian? I called. Beatrice? Nothing answered back. In the kitchen, I found a handwritten note stabbed into the cork of an expensive bottle of whiskey. We needed a break. The coast air will do us good. Take care of the old woman. Don't call. We need peace. The old woman was Evelyn, Julian's grandmother. She'd been written off years ago after a supposed stroke left her immobile and silent. At least, that's what I was told. She lived in a small room near the pantry. No windows, no visitors, no dignity. I opened the refrigerator. Nearly empty. The milk was spoiled. The dates on the food told me everything I needed to know. They had been gone for 3 days. 3 days with no water, no food, no medication. They hadn't forgotten Evelyn. They had abandoned her. My nursing instincts took over before fear could stop me. I ran down the hallway and into the tiny back room. The smell hit first, stale air and neglect. Evelyn lay on a narrow cot, her skin paper, thin, her lips cracked. I pressed my fingers to her neck. A pulse. Weak but there. I spent hours caring for her, hydrating her slowly, cleaning her, apologizing out loud for things I didn't even know how to fix. My anger burned quietly, controlled, focused. Then my hand brushed something hard beneath the mattress. I pulled out a hollowed book. Inside it was a sleek tablet. Before I could process that impossible detail, fingers clamped around my wrist. Strong fingers. I gasped. Evelyn's eyes were open, clear, sharp, fully aware. Don't scream, she said quietly. If you do, everything ends. Her voice wasn't broken. It was steady, calculated. Nothing about this woman matched the helpless figure I'd been shown for years. They think I'm dying, she continued. And I needed them to believe that. My heart hammered as she sat up, easily, effortlessly. That was the moment I realized something chilling. I wasn't just married into a cruel family. I had been living inside a carefully constructed lie. And whatever was hidden in this house, it was far worse than neglect. I thought the nightmare was discovering they wanted Evelyn dead. But I was about to learn I was never meant to survive this story either. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Evelyn's grip was firm, nothing like the fragile touch of someone clinging to life. Her eyes never left mine, watching, not pleading, not fearing, but measuring, as if she were deciding whether I was worth the truth. You're not paralyzed, I finally whispered. She released my wrist and gave a thin smile. No, I'm invisible. There's a difference. My mind raced through every memory I had of her, motionless in bed, silent during family gatherings, ignored even when spoken about in the same room. Every detail suddenly felt staged, rehearsed. They drugged me at first, she said calmly. Low doses. Just enough to slow me down, blur me out. When I realized what they were doing, I stopped taking the pills. She pointed toward the nightstand where Julian had left several prescription bottles. I recognized the labels immediately. Sedatives, blood pressure medication she didn't need. A dangerous combination for someone her age. I replaced them, she continued. Sugar tablets. Crushed vitamins. I needed them to think I was declining. My stomach twisted. Why? Evelyn swung her legs off the bed and stood. Perfect balance. Perfect control. Because people reveal who they are when they believe the end is close, she said. And I needed proof. She crossed the room and pressed a knot in the wooden wardrobe. A panel slid open silently, revealing a narrow passage. Hidden lights flickered on, illuminating a room that didn't belong in a forgotten corner of a pantry. Monitors covered the walls. Every room of the house was displayed in high definition. The living room, the kitchen, the master bedroom, even the driveway. Audio feeds, timestamps, archived recordings. My knees felt weak. They've been watching me live like this? I asked. No, Evelyn replied. I've been watching them. She tapped the screen and pulled up a video dated 3 nights earlier, the night Julian and his mother left town. There they were, relaxed, laughing, and Julian wasn't alone. Standing beside him was Sophia, my closest friend, the woman who had cried with me when my shifts were long, who hugged me at holidays, who told me I deserved rest. On the screen, Julian raised a glass. Once the old woman finally dies, we sell the house. Elena's savings are already lined up. Spain will be perfect. Sophia laughed. Just make sure the nurse doesn't start asking questions. Julian's expression hardened. She won't. Guilt keeps people quiet. I couldn't breathe. Evelyn paused the video. They assumed I was helpless. She said softly. They assumed you were obedient. They were wrong on both counts. She turned to me, her gaze sharp but not unkind. They planned to make you disappear after me. Quietly, cleanly. Every sacrifice I had made replayed in my head. Every overtime shift, every excuse I accepted, every time I ignored my own exhaustion because I believed loyalty mattered. They forged documents. Evelyn continued. Power of attorney. Access to accounts. They thought my fortune was already theirs. I laughed once, short and hollow. So what do we do? Evelyn reached into a drawer and handed me a phone. Not mine. New. Untraceable. You stop being afraid, she said. And you let them finish writing their confession. Over the next 2 days, the house transformed into a quiet command center. A lawyer arrived, then specialists. Locks were changed, accounts frozen, evidence duplicated and secured. Finally, Evelyn nodded at me. It's time. My hands shook as I typed the message to Julian. Something's wrong. Evelyn isn't breathing. I don't know what to do. His reply came almost instantly. Don't call anyone. Wrap her up. We're on our way. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Because in that single sentence, he confirmed everything. They thought they were coming home to clean up a body, but what they were really walking into was a trap built from their own words. The house was silent when their car pulled into the driveway. I watched from the upper landing as headlights swept across the front lawn, illuminating the stone path I had scrubbed myself on weekends. My heart was steady now, strangely calm. Fear had burned itself out, replaced by clarity. They were laughing when they stepped inside. Julian came first, already holding thick black trash bags, as if this were a chore he'd rehearsed. His mother followed, talking excitedly about travel plans. And then Sophia, hesitant, but still there, still complicit. Elena? Julian called, his voice sharp with impatience. Where is she? I stepped out of the shadows. She's waiting in the drawing room. His brows furrowed. Why didn't you put her somewhere more practical? I didn't answer. They moved past me, too focused on the finish line to notice the details, the locked doors, the unfamiliar silence, the absence of fear. When they pushed open the drawing room doors, the lights snapped on all at once. Evelyn sat in a velvet chair beneath the chandelier, dressed immaculately, calm, regal, alive. Behind her stood 2 detectives, several officers, and the lawyer I had met only days earlier. A folder rested in his hands. The room froze. Julian's face drained of color. The trash bag slipped from his fingers. You're dead, he stammered. Evelyn smiled faintly. You were counting on that? The lawyer stepped forward. Julian Vance, your access to all shared accounts has been revoked. Your employment contracts have been terminated. Funds have been frozen pending investigation. Beatrice screamed. Sophia backed away, shaking her head in disbelief. One of the detectives spoke calmly. You're being detained for elder abuse, financial fraud, and conspiracy to commit serious harm. Julian turned toward me. Elena, you don't understand. I understand everything, I said. That was the first time he looked afraid of me. The evidence played itself out. Video recordings, audio files, messages, their own voices laid bare, mocking, plotting, celebrating an inheritance that was never theirs. Sophia tried to cry, claimed manipulation, but the recordings showed her suggesting dosages, timing, methods. There was no escape. Handcuffs clicked into place. They were led out through the same front door they had entered so confidently minutes earlier. Julian looked back at me once. His eyes begged. I felt nothing. 3 months later the sentencing came down. Maximum penalties, no leniency, no sympathy. The house felt different after that. Lighter, quieter, honest. Evelyn and I stayed. We renovated the back rooms. The forgotten space became a sunlit retreat filled with plants and warmth. Every morning, we drank tea there, sunlight spilling in where darkness once lived. I left nursing, not out of bitterness, but because my life had finally become my own. Together, Evelyn and I created something new, a foundation built to protect the overlooked, to catch the warning signs early, to ensure no one else vanished quietly behind closed doors. I learned something through all of this. Cruelty depends on silence. Power hides behind assumptions. And the people you think are weakest often see everything. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or treated like a resource instead of a human being, remember this: strength doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits, watches, and strikes when the truth is undeniable. But the most shocking part of this story isn't what they did, it's what Evelyn revealed next about how long she had been planning all of it. There was one last thing Evelyn told me after the trials were over. We were sitting in the sunroom, the space that had once been a forgotten corner, meant to erase her existence. Now it was warm, filled with green leaves and quiet light. She stirred her tea slowly, as if deciding how much truth I was ready to carry. "I've been awake for years," she said. I looked at her. "You mean aware?" "No," she replied. "Active." She explained that the stroke had been real, but mild, temporary. The doctors cleared her long before Julian ever mentioned it to me. When she tried to return to normal life, her own family stopped her. They told everyone she was declining. Then they isolated her, medicated her, rewrote the story, and when you realized, I asked, I watched, she said simply, because people are loud when they think no one important is listening. Evelyn had suspected financial manipulation long before I ever married into the family. Missing signatures, accounts quietly shifted, assets managed on her behalf without consent. She pretended not to notice until she was sure. "When you came into this family," she continued, "I saw something different. You worked until your body begged you to stop. You gave without demanding. And they took advantage of that." My chest tightened. "I didn't know how to reach you safely," she said. "So I waited. The tablet, the cameras, the recordings, every cruel joke, every careless confession, years of evidence archived quietly while they believed they were winning. They underestimated both of us," I said. Evelyn smiled. "That's their greatest weakness." The foundation launched 6 months later. We funded legal aid, emergency housing, and medical advocacy for seniors facing neglect or financial abuse. People came forward with stories that sounded painfully familiar. Families who erased them. Children who waited for inheritance instead of health. The house became a symbol of something else entirely, not greed, not control, but accountability. As for me, I learned how easily love can be used as leverage, how exhaustion can silence intuition, and how loyalty when unreturned becomes a cage. Julian tried to contact me once from prison. A letter, apologies, explanations. I didn't open it. Some truths don't deserve your energy anymore. Evelyn still lives with me. She walks the garden every morning, strong, present, fully seen. Sometimes we talk about how close everything came to ending differently. How silence almost won, but it didn't. Because the people who depend on you staying quiet are always the ones most terrified of your voice. If you're watching this and you feel trapped, overlooked, or reduced to what you provide, please hear this: your awareness is not weakness. Your patience is not surrender. And your moment to act doesn't have to look dramatic to be powerful. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive with sirens. Sometimes it arrives with receipts. If this story stayed with you, it's probably because you recognize pieces of it in your own life, or someone you love. Stay with this channel. More stories like this are coming. And you never know which one might help you see what's been hiding in plain sight.